Today I'm going to look around the orchard and just see what jobs I've got to do for the winter jobs and assess how long that's going to take me. And then in a future video we're going to do all the pruning and everything like that. So this is what you need to do first to be organised. You can even write it all down if you want to be super organised. So today I'm going to walk around and look at every tree and all the things in the orchard and just see exactly what I need to do. One thing we need to do is to get rid of this pile of soil here. I guess that won't be a problem for everybody. We've got this soil has been put here during another landscaping project because when we built the orchard we never finished putting the topsoil there because where we were getting topsoil from, that bit ran out. So we've got this bit put here and we still need to put that out around the orchard. So that's another thing we've got to bear in mind. Yeah. This little tree here is very new. I haven't put the soil heap next to it because if I had it would have buried the rootstock and that wouldn't have been good, so I've made sure I've cut the soil away from it. But that won't need any pruning yet, it's only been in for one season. But all the others will. I suppose I could start with this one here. This is an apple tree, Limelight, which is a really good, reliable tree, and it has really early apples, early September or sometimes even late August, and they're like a limelight colour. It's got too many branches. This one I need to just take a few branches off, just thin out some of these where there's a lot of them. This one wouldn't take too long, so that's. I wish they were all going to be like this one, but it's nice and straight. The trunk, it won't need any support or anything. So that one's a nice, easy one. This Berry Alexander Lucas pear, which is a good crop when it's nice and early. It's completely fallen over because you can't straighten them when they're growing. You have to do them when they're dormant. And look, the stake has gone as well. So this stake here, which was strong enough to support it when it was smaller, I wonder if that, I reckon I can still use that one. So I'll just leave that there. Because it won't, yeah, it'll just, yeah, it's quite easy. Some of them you need kind of rope and a few people. But this one, I'll put this post back in the ground at a bit of an angle, somewhere like this, and then I'll tie this up so I won't need a stake. I like to keep a note in my head, you see, of how many stakes I'm going to need. So this one, no stakes so far, but what I'd like to tie them up with is tights. You can always get them in sales, and places like January is really good for getting them in sales, and they're so useful. They're way cheaper than tree guards you get from garden centres, and they're much easier to use. And when I do my video, which will be hopefully soon, when I prune the trees and everything, then I'll show you how to do that. But for now I'll just leave that stake there, and I'll make a mental note about that tree. This tree here, which is a Cox's Orange Pippin apple, which is one of my favourite ones. It's gorgeous. It's quite prone to things munching their way through the apples, but apples they don't munch through are really, really tasty. It's got a bit of an angle, the trunk, but it's okay. It's sturdy and strong. It's in well-drained ground, but it's going to need a lot of pruning. There's just too many branches. You know, they're going to need thinning out, and some of them are going to maybe need a bit of trimming back as well. So it's a bit more job than with the Limelight, but this one, yes, it's going to take a little bit longer, but not too bad. It won't need straightening or anything. And this one is a scrumptious apple. Again, it just needs loads of, well, a bit of pruning, I suppose. Its stake is still holding fast, but this one is usually have a lot of fruit, but this year it had hardly any, and what it did have was quite manky. From a pruning perspective, it doesn't need much, and it shouldn't need straightening. This is a Bramley's apple. and we cut it back a lot last year because it was getting a bit sort of top heavy, and we staked it and pushed it up and straightened it, but you can see it's leaned over a bit more and taken the stake with it a bit, so that's going to need something doing to it. And I'm thinking that maybe that stake isn't big enough for such a big tree, so maybe I'll get one of those big posty things and put it in at an angle like that, and you can see how good these tights are. They last really well. They're really strong. So you'll see when I do the other video of how they work. This is the Rosette apple. This is a really early one. In fact, this one crops in August. It's about the first apple to crop usually, and it's all red inside. And this one, look, it's leaning over as well, and it's taken its stake with it. So another thing I've got to make a note of is researching about staking apple trees, because they do like leaning over. I suppose the crab apples can spread a bit by leaning and falling over, and that's how they spread, so the apples will do it as well. But the pears don't do this, but the apples always try and lean over. It's quite annoying sometimes. And over here, this little stick marks where another fruit tree is going to go. Another thing you should always bear in mind is that if a tree really isn't doing very well, then maybe think about perhaps putting a different type of tree, or maybe another one similar to another one that does do well. This is a Williams pear, William Boncheriton, and it's never done very well. It's always dead branches and it's never produced fruit. So one thing I'm thinking is maybe I'd want to replace this tree with another tree. And then my quince tree, I mean this one, the quinces are horrible, but they look really nice and they have these big flowers and they're kind of unique things. I've just got one quince, and I suppose it could do with pruning, but I'll just give it a light trim, the quince, I think. Sometimes the tree can be completely taken over by their rootstock. Like here, you see this is the plum tree that was growing, this one here, but this one and this one here are like wild plum rootstocks which they've taken over, and this one is really no good, and I'm going to have to dig this one up and replace it as well. So always look out for that, because you don't want like a wild rootstock tree in your orchard filling up space and potentially throwing off suckers and things. So yeah, this one's almost completely taken over by wild plum, and this one's definitely coming out. This one here is Clapp's Favourite. That's it, Clapp's Favourite. It's really nice early pear, really good. What I did find was when I had to climb up it to get the pears, there were so many branches that it was difficult for me to climb up. So I'm going to sort of thin this out a bit. Yeah, I might have to make some decisions on exactly what shape I want this one to be. It's got like two big ones going up. I probably want to have some branches going out, and it's kind of a weird shape, so I'm going to have to think about this one. The pear trees is not quite straight, but pear trees don't really fall over as much or as often as apple trees. It's pretty steady, so I think that's okay. I could remove a bit of weight from this side, and I'll possibly prune these down so far to get them to bush out and thin out the actual side branches. I think that's what I need to do for that one. It looks more time than it would be. That would be quite quick to do that one. Also with the Berry Hardy here, really reliable one, this one. When it was impossible to climb up, it had so many little side branches. So I want to thin out a lot of these branches, just remove a lot of them, so there's more room for the pears and more room for me to climb up there when I need to. This one here, the Gala apple, we pruned it back heavily last year. Its stake looks really flimsy, but it's holding. I think that it was just such a little trunk, and it was so much on it. It's okay, it's not leaned anymore, but it didn't produce any fruit, or one or two I think it had, but usually it's covered in fruit, and this year it didn't have really any to speak of at all. Now what's this one? Polish name. This one doesn't really need much at all. So okay, this would be about 5 or 10 minutes to do this one. These two here that are right next to the hedge, they don't really need much. These trees that we just walked through to start with, these are the oldest trees, so they're the ones that are the biggest. All the other ones, there's not so much work to do with them. But these hedges are going to have to do. All this, cut them to so high, all the way around. That's like going to take ages. That's another job I've got to think. That's part of it, 'cause it's kind of connected to here. So that's I dread to think how long. One thing you need to look out for as well, and when you're planning what you're going to prune, is bits that are infected with disease, like here. You get sort of nasty wood diseases like canker and things, and you need to cut all these bits off. See, it's right down to there, so all that branch would need to come off. So when you're deciding which branches to keep, you want to get rid of the ones with the disease. Yeah, so like here, there's a bit of disease on some of the branches, but it's not too bad. Of course, all the rest of the orchard is younger, so it's not going to be such a job. As the trees get bigger every year, they become a bigger job until they get to full size, and then that's the same forever then, I suppose. So each tree here would probably take less than 5 minutes, so that's at the moment that's good. I do have this pile of soil which has been here for ages, just bare. So this brambles here is actually, this was going to be a woodland once, so the hedge there, which is just now a hedge, is going to be the bank leading up to the woods, and there's going to be a bank here and a woods up at this height, like, but I just decided against it, so it's now a corner, a really neat little corner there of the orchard. So it just thins out in the corner and goes to one tree in the corner. Over here, what's this one called? It's got somebody's name, James Grieve, this one. And that's the final little corner piece there. And on the other side, the road comes out and little bend, so it makes use of that little bend, you see. So that's the mental notes of the orchard. Yeah, but there's a few other little bits of orchard here and there, but I've got an idea here now. There's maybe there's 5 trees that need major things done. I need 1 large stake, no other stakes. So I've got a few other stakes already here and 1 or 2 big stakes, so I don't need to buy any stakes. I will need to get about 5 pairs of tights in order to tie the trees up, and I reckon I'm going to need possibly a day to do this in. So now I'm mentally prepared and I know what I need to do. So in the near future I shall do another video where I'm actually pruning the things. Look at this here, it's 2 posts and a bit of tight there. That one could probably do with, just pulling up, and but I don't need to buy any other posts or anything. So, and I could probably use the same tights because they're really strong and they last forever. And some of these trees are leaning a bit as well. This tree is quite not very good, but it's this Japanese pear. The other Japanese pear is doing right, but this one's not very good. Sometimes you've just got to make that decision. Your conditions that you've got might not be right. Some of the modern species need loads of pesticides and you don't want to use them. So you want something that's going to be tough, and loads of the trees that we originally planted do really well. So we've got a few more of those varieties which we know do well. Also, it's good to make a note of anyone else who's got an orchard, and if they've got a tree that's got really nice fruit, and you can say what is it, and you can get one of them. There's quite a few with a few bits of diseased bark on them, which I can do, but none of these trees will take very long. So I guess if I give it a day, that should do it, I reckon. And now I've got a mental note of what I need to do. It's part of that mental block of, oh, the orchard, or there's so much to do, Now I know it's just 1 day's work, and if I have somebody to help me, it maybe take half a day. And I shall, yeah, so now I'm organised, and that's going to help a lot. So I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and if you press the little me down somewhere down there, then you can see all my other videos, and I shall see you next time.